sometime soon. They'll see something that they're bothered by, and they'll want to jump sideways out from under you. You need to block them with that leg. If they did that, you need to block them. Because if they get through that leg too many times, they realize that that is an open door and an open invitation. If I get worried, I can jump to the right. That's easy, they say. That's bad news for you, unless you're really good at balancing, which most of us aren't. So you want to make sure you blocked it. But you guys have heard me say this a few times too, but it all starts long before they spook at something. How many times have you guys been walking down a trail and there's just a little bit of mud, and it kind of comes out halfway into the trail, just a little bit, and you're going down the trail just relaxing, and your mule just moves their body just around the mud, barely. You guys been there? Most of you probably let it by, didn't you? Probably said, oh, whatever, it's mud. They just pushed on that leg, and they said, oh, that door's open. So, when I see the scary thing up ahead, I'll just jump that way. That's an open door. I'll make sure I remember that. They write that down in their notebook. Or sometimes you guys have all been in this situation too, where you'd really like your mules to respect your legs and get off your legs. How many times we're walking down the trail, and here comes the kneecap buster branch. And it comes out, and you're like, oh no, there's the tree. And you probably go, the branch is right here, and you go like this. And what does your mule usually do? Pushes on that leg and smacks you into the tree. They don't respect your leg. So I want you guys to think about that today as we're riding these circles, and we're going to do some other exercises too. Keep your mule centered all the time, and practice while the practicing is good. You know, I've shared this story a little bit now, but I've talked about when people call me and they say, Ty, I have a mule that's really spooky. He's super scared of stumps. We're out riding, and he's super scared of stumps, and I don't know what to do. How do I get him fixed? How do I fix this problem? And, the short answer is or I usually ask them a question, how do they move off your legs? And they say, oh, well, they move great off my legs. Do they really? Think about it. If they're pushing on you, if they're, I always ask myself, is my mule willing to sacrifice me to go around the stump? Do your mule sacrifice you? Are you a sacrifice? You think about that. So I'm always keeping that in mind, when I'm riding. I want to keep my mule centered all the time. Speed is a big part of that too. If you're having to, like my gray mule that I ride, I'm always having to hustle him to get him to go, and I'm always having to use my legs and really, really get him to move. He's always just dragging on that back line. Okay? I want him to stay centered in those front and back line too with speed control. You guys are gonna get a little taste of that today. You've been watching the Mulemanship 2 class do that a bunch. But we're gonna do that today. But I want you thinking on it all the time. Is my mule centered? Think about that rectangle all the time. That's something that's always conscious in my mind. At least I try to keep it that way. I'm always thinking, are they centered? Soft and centered, soft and centered, soft and centered. Okay? But I want you guys to really get your mules aware of your legs. And we're going to talk a lot about using our legs today. We're going to do some serpentines and some figure eights and some things like that, and try to get them a little better with our legs. And as we talk about all this stuff, remember, none of these things get perfect in a day. You're working at this stuff all the time. This is a lifelong endeavor. Mulemanship, I remember I used to think that the more I learned, the closer I'd get to being here, and I picture a funnel, and I used to think the funnel was shaped like this. In the beginning, there's all these things to learn, and it creeps up like this, so there's not so much to learn anymore until you figure it out. I used to think it was shaped like that, and I realized that in mulemanship, the funnel is the other way. It's shaped like this. In the beginning, there's just little bites, but the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing until it gets so... There's so much more I realize now that I don't know. I'm like, every day is a learning process for me, and new things come. That's kind of how it's shaped up, so it'll be the same for you guys. But anyways, I want you to think about keeping them centered today.